being live streamed now, and I have the YouTube link on my WordPress website, so you can go back and watch it over again and stuff like that. So does everybody have a review packet? There's an extra one up here if you want. A lot. Yeah. No problem. I passed 2 down. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
No problem. All right, who's ready? Okay. I placed evaluations on like the corner of the tables that look like this. If you want to fill them out later, like when they're done. But yeah. Okay, so if you did not know, your final exam is on Wednesday, so that's 2 days from now. And there's going to be 3 what's wrong with it, 1 what's the output, and 2 write the code. 1 long one and 1 short one. All right. Ooh. So I have a what's wrong with it. For number 1, what do you guys think is wrong with it?
Does it need to start at 0?
Why do you think it needs to start at 0? Okay. What? Good. So right here, this first for loop, it starts at 1, but this one that it's printing out starts at 0. So it would print out garbage characters from 1, and then it's also skipping 2. So.
Though starting at 1 isn't wrong, but they will
Since you're printing out the stuff in the array, it's wrong because it needs to start at 1. Yeah. I can't hear you. Would it go to 11? No, it's only going to 10, so it wouldn't be out of bounds, but there is something wrong with the numbers. What else? Well, he asked since it would go 9 and it would be plus 2, it would go to 11, but it wouldn't because it's only I less than 10.
Is it just that data sub 5?
What's wrong with data sub 5?
I mean, in the for loop, you're going up until 10, but there aren't 10 spots in the
Good. So we have data sub 5, and that's only holds 5 places, but for our for loop, we're going to 10. So this is too big, and that will exceed the bounds. Okay, is there anything else wrong? Nope, all right, good job. So make sure you notice that if this for loop, if it was just by itself and it only had this bottom portion, or this top portion, it technically wouldn't be wrong, but since we're printing it out from 0 and incrementing by 1, it's technically wrong. Okay, what about number 2? It needs to be F open. What else? What? Okay, so F, is that a type of file that we have? Or a type of mode? Okay, so no F mode. What other modes do we have? R, W, and A. Okay, so what do each of those do? What does R do? Read. What does W do? Write. What does A do? What? Oh, it adds on, yeah. Writes at the end. It adds on. But what's special that W and A have that R doesn't? Other than the writing on the file. Good. All right, so they also create new files if it's not already there. What? This right here? Good, so there's no need for this. Because you already have an FP right here. Oh, can you guys see? You already have an FP right here, and by stating it again, you're just like restating that you're going to the same file pointer, which you don't need. Okay? Is there anything else?
In the F print, you need an FP.
Okay, so she said that in fprint F, we need a FP, which we do. Okay, so that's going to tell you, or that's going to tell the compiler that they're going to put hello world into this file pointer FP. Okay, anything else?
It would be like an FP comma.
Yeah, it would be FP comma hello world. All right. Number 3. For FP equals F open. Correct. Yeah, correct. We don't need another FP in here like that, since you're already assigning FP to that open file.
In the print F, there's only one thing, but there's two. No, there's only one.
And F close, we usually do that in main. Yeah. So why should this be exit 0? Good. Since we couldn't open the file, close it, or close this function. Okay?
Did you say the first one? Like the first mistake?
Oh, this is only actually one mistake. He was just pointing out, like, you're not supposed to have an FP in here, like we did right up there. Anything else? Okay, nope, there's not. Yeah. Yes. So this return FP, why do we have it in this function? This return FP? Why do we need it in our function? Good, since it's not null, we want to return it back to main, so in main we can like use the file, okay? Good question. Yeah, good. So for test purposes, you could either be a W or an A, because we're writing into the file, so it would need to be some type of writing mode. Okay? Any more questions? Number 4. Yeah, the copy name is too small. It only holds space for 2, but the dog name has 100, so this is too small. What else? Good, there needs to be a semicolon here. I actually didn't even see that.
Is straight copy a thing?
Good question. Is stricpy, is that a thing? No, it is not a thing. There is no insensitive copy. There's no I in stir copy. Is there anything else? Okay, that is all. And number 5. Should what? Okay, so we oh, hello. We have phone. That's dead. We have phone as a char right now. Is that okay? Why is that okay? Yeah, because it's a character, and characters are also numbers. Can you guys still hear me? Okay, cool. Because this. Okay, so char can still be a phone number because it also has characters also contain numbers. Yeah, got to turn to me when you talk because you're talking to the screen and I can't. What? Asterisk pi. So if it was asterisk pi, what would we change? Yeah. Yeah, so if this was asterisk pi, wait. What? If it's like this, how it is right now? Yeah, so if it is right now, this is not a structure pointer, it's just a regular structure. Okay, so I don't want to change that, but I do want to change everything else to make it accommodate for a structure pointer. So I have, yeah, these should not be arrows. So right now we're only in main, so we're not passing through different functions, so it's okay that it's just a regular structure. All right. Hello. Okay. So it's just a regular structure. You're not passing it through functions, so the data won't get lost. But if you had different functions, that's when it should be a structure pointer. It's a regular struct, and it needs to be replaced with a period. Anything else? Yeah, you got to check this too. Okay. So yeah, in your last test, you guys had struct, I actually have it, and you had multiple functions, and so the structure really needed to be a pointer, not just a regular struct. Okay, that's fine. All right, and then number 6. There are 1, 2, 3, 4% Ds, and there's only 1, 2, 3 letters. So, extra placeholder. Anything else? Okay, so I know in your last test, a lot of people were confused on this part. There was like numbers here, so it assigned the pointers to numbers, but like this is what was needed, okay? You needed to assign those pointers to values, okay? All right. Right. What's the output? I'll give you guys a couple minutes to try to solve that. Anybody get it? Okay, so I got an 11, 16, 14, but notice there are 2 printfs here. So there's actually going to be 2 lines. 11, 14, then 11, 16, 14. Did anybody else get that? All right, we got it, check. All right, let's go through it. So this one's actually pretty easy. There's no for loops involved or anything. So we have a is equal to 2 plus a minus b. So Right here, we're passing in the location of x and z, which are these two. So it's okay that now they're going in as pointers, so their values will actually be changed. So we have a is equal to 12, and we have b is equal to 3. Okay, so a is equal to 2 plus 12 minus 3, and then what's that equal to? 11? Okay, good. This is algebra 1, I think. Then we have b is equal to b plus a, so 3 plus 11. So what's that? That's 14. So the first printf line is going to be, it's going to print out this a and b, so 11 and 14. And then the second line is going to print out 11, 16, and 14. Make sense? Oh, sorry. Okay, so then there's also a return 2 plus pointer b, okay? So pointer b is 14 plus 2 is 16. So right here we have y is equal to when we call the function. So when we call the function, it's going to return this value of 16. So it's holding that value of 16, and then it's going to go into y. Make sense? Questions? So there's two answers, oh, not two answers, but like there's two print lines, and it's going to be this, okay? Except it would be like a equals and b equals and stuff like that, okay? All right. Now here's stuff that you guys need practice on. I recommend drawing your charts. That's how I draw mine. You don't have to do it the same way, but. All right, someone got the answer. They got 10, -1, and 2. Did anybody else get that? All right, we got a check mark. Anybody else? Well, I think he might have done it at home first and then brought it here done. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he's just super fast. Give you guys like another 30 seconds. All right, so I set up my chart like this. It's the easiest way for me to see it. I'm going through a for loop, so I have my I values, and then I'm going to put in the values for my function, which I have f, s, and t. And then I also relate which variables match up with which numbers over here. So we have f relates with m, and it also relates with j. And so s relates with n, and it also relates with k, okay? And then I put in my initial numbers. So when I is 0, before we even get to that, what's temp equal to? It's equal to 2, yep, because it's equal to f. So now we get into our for loop, and we have I is equal to 0, so what's f? 5 minus 5 is 0, and then you add 2, so it's 2. All right, now we go down to s. We have temp minus 3. 2 minus 3 is negative 1, plus 5 is 4. Okay? You're just subtracting 1. And then t times 2. Do we have to do this? Why? Yeah, so t right now is not a pointer, so no matter what we do with it, we're going to change the values, but when we come back in main and print it out, it's not going to change. So I'm not even going to worry about this until the end, okay? So I know that this is going to stay 10, and I also know that temp is going to stay 2 because I don't even change it in this for loop. Yes? Ampersand, where? Like right? Yeah, I'm asking for pointers, and right now I have pointer M and pointer N, and I'm sending those in. Yeah, so in this previous question, we have paradise, ampersand x, and ampersand z. But if you see that those are just normal integers, they're not pointers. That's why we have to send in the location of them to give it like that pointer value. Yeah, if you send pointers to pointers, you don't need to have the ampersand, okay? We put these ampersands in there to like give it the face of a pointer by giving that location, okay? And also, the reason we don't have an ampersand for this I value, because in this function, it's just asking for a normal integer. So that doesn't even matter. Okay? Back to this, we are going to keep temp the same because it's not being changed in this for loop. So now when I is 1, we have f is equal to what? Temp minus 3 is negative 1. Oh, sorry. S minus 5 is negative 1 plus 2 is 1. Okay, and then what's s? Good, 3. All right, you're just subtracting 1, and then now when I is 2, what's f? Negative 1, and s is 2. Okay? Do we go to 3? I technically does go to 3, and then it's going to stop. Okay? All right, so our final values we have are 10, negative 1, and 2. Make sense? Any questions? All right. Oh, sorry. Good? Okay. All right, we got a bigger one over here. Try that. Anybody get it? Wait. All right, we got a 12. Oh, you guys can't see that. A 12, 21, 6. Anybody else? Agreed. All right, let's go through it. So we have, these are our original numbers. Oh. Okay. F matches up with X, and it also matches up with J. S matches up with Y, and also K. All right, so we have temp is 2. When when I is 0, what's F? 9. Okay, we have S minus 2, which is 7, and then plus 2 is 9. All right, what's S? 8. And T? Huh? It's still 12. It's not going to change. It's the same instance as the last problem. It's not a pointer. Okay, so it's not going to change the value anyway when we get to main. Okay? And then now we have I is equal to 1. What's F? 15. Do we follow this condition right here? Why? Because we're still on I equals 1, so this does not follow yet. So what's S when I is 1? 7. All right, and now we have I is 2. What's the first part of F right here? 20. So we have 7 minus 2, which is 5, plus 15, we have 20. Okay, but right now we're going to follow this condition because we have I is equal to 2. So what's the new F? 16. Okay, because it's just 20 minus 4. So what does a continue do? It skips the rest of this code. Skips the rest and goes back to I is equal to 3, right? Are we going to run I equals 3? Why? Yeah, we have this less than or equal to 3, so we're still going to run 3. Still run 3, and so we don't do S. S remains 7. And now what's F when I is equal to 3? 21, because we have 7 minus 2 is 5, plus 16 is 21. And then we have temp minus 3, which is negative 1, plus S is 6. And these are our last 3 numbers. Okay, so this is right. Any questions? All right, let's get into some code. Oh, sorry. Okay. All right, into some code we have the first one. Write a function that receives an integer array and an integer representing the size of the array. And it's going to return the amount of even numbers in the array. Okay, array. So what's the first thing that I should do? I got to do my parameters, so I'm going to read back over what this asks. It says it's going to receive an integer array, so this is 1, and an integer representing the size, so this is 2. All right, so my first parameter, I have int. You can name your array anything. And then you're going to have another integer for the size. Any questions on that so far? All right, so you're going to look for these keywords. If it says this function receives or if it takes in, those are words that means that they're parameters, okay? All right, so I have that, and now what do I need to do? I need to declare I, and what? Okay, so just like a flag number, or I'm going to put even nums. That's going to count how many even numbers that I have. Why do I have to initialize it at 0? Yeah. Since we're adding to it, it needs to be initialized. Since adding to it, need to initialize. I think I spelled that right. Okay. So now what? For loop. I is equal to what? 0. It always has to start at 0 for an array. And then what? Less than even nums. Right now even nums is 0, so then it wouldn't even go anywhere. Less than size. Yep. Okay, and then what? I++. We're going to increment by 1. All right, so now I need a flag for all the numbers that I have in my array. I want to know if they are even. How can I do that? If, make a condition. When what is my condition? Huh? Mod 2. What mod 2? Yeah, okay, so ray sub I mod 2. So ray sub I, this is going to check every spot in the array, and then we have mod 2. So what does this do? What does the mod do? Yeah, it's the remainder. So when you're dividing two numbers and then the remainder is what? Equal 0. That's how you know it's even, okay? And then what am I going to do in here? Yeah, I want to increment by 1. Plus, plus. All right, is that it? Yeah, I got to close it. Oh, in the for loop, it can be less than size. Now we have what? Return even numbers. Okay, does that make sense? So it's looping through the array and it's like dividing by 2 until like it's the remainder of 2. And then if that is equal to 0, then we're going to add 1. So we know that we have one even number, okay? And then this is finally going to return the amount of even numbers. So if I asked you in main to like populate an array of random numbers, and then we have to see how many total numbers there are. Okay, so I'll say it again, don't worry. So if I'm in main right now, and I want to make an array of size 10, and I want to populate that with random numbers, what do I do? Good, I need srand, good start. Srand, how do I finish that? Time, no. Okay, and then what variables do I need? Okay, so I can make a separate variable for rand. I'm not going to do that, but you can if you want. What else do I need? I need declare my variables, but what are my variables? I want to have an array and I want to populate it with random numbers. We need an I. What else? I need my array, good. So we have grades and I want it of size 10, okay? Easy. Okay, so we'll keep it like that. And now how do I populate this array with random numbers? Start my for loop. I is equal to 0, then what? Less than what? 10. I less than 10, and then I plus plus. And what goes inside here? Grade sub I is equal to what? I want it to be random numbers. Random numbers between 1 and 100. Yeah, I need my parentheses here. Mod 100 plus 1. Okay? That's good. And then that's it. So now we have an array of random numbers from 1 to 100. And now I want to call this function and see how many random numbers are in this thing, in this array. How do I do that? Yeah, I need another integer to count for my evens. I'm going to call it total evens. Okay? Then what? Okay, why do I set it equal to it? Good, so this function is returning a value called even nums. So it's holding this value for us. So when we call this function, we need to have a catcher variable, which we have total evens, so we can keep that number. And what goes inside my parameters? Grades. What else? I have 2 parameters. 10, yep. That's my array and that's my size. Cool, looks good?
So you don't have to put the brackets like in the function.
Where?
You have even numbers grades. You guys have to put grades with brackets
Wait, where?
at the very bottom.
Right here?
Yeah.
Even numbers, grades. Oh, he's asking right here. So grades, we don't have brackets in them. We don't need to because we already know that grades is an array up here. So we don't need to put another set of brackets there for the parameter. Why do we call it in main? Oh, because I wanted to see if it would actually work. I wanted to see, like, I have an array of random numbers and I want to see which ones are even.
Why? The question doesn't ask for that.
No, it doesn't. This is just extra. It's not in the question. You're right. Do you guys want to see it run? Okay, we're going to. Okay, so this is the function. I didn't even change anything to it. It takes in an array and a size, and then it checks if they're even. Okay, and then here, I'll change this because we have it from 1 to 100. A question?
At the review, Minor here did this really weird thing where he set the thing from instead of it going through 100, it went through 5 to 7 or something like that.
Okay, that's good.
Explain that again.
Explain that? Okay, so say I want to go from, instead of from 1 to 100, I want to go from 2 to 9. How would I do that? I would start at 7 and then plus 2. Do you guys see that? So if you don't see that, okay, so it automatically starts at 0. So right now it's 0 to 7 without the plus 2. That makes sense though, right? Okay, and now when I add 2, it's going to increment this whole range. So now instead of starting at 0, we're going to start at 2. And then instead of ending at 7, I'm going to increment by 2 and go to 9. Does that make sense? I have another problem that's going to do this as well, but if you see this, I also added a printf in the for loop so you guys could see what grades was populated with. Okay, so these numbers, let me increase that for you. These numbers right here, they are from 2 to 9, okay? There's no numbers bigger than 9 and there's no numbers smaller than 2, okay? Okay, all right, 1 second. Okay, so let's see if our function works. It says that we have a total of 3 even numbers. Is that true? We got 4, 4, and 6. So yeah, we did it. Okay? So say we wanted to go from 3 to 11 this time. What would it be? 8 plus 3? Or 9 plus 3? 8 plus 3? What is 8 plus 3? 11, okay. Good job, guys. All right, so now it's going to populate numbers from 3 to 11, okay? It technically can go to 11. It's random, but so there's no 11s right now. Okay, does that make sense? Yes. It is the starting point, yeah. So yeah, it's increment. Correct. So this 3, if we add it to 8, it's going to end point at 11.
Yeah, if we wanted to make it higher, we just change the 8.
Correct. All right. Is that good? Did this function make sense? Question, sorry. Correct. It goes from, if it was just. Oh, okay, yeah. So this right now is just going 3 to 10. But if it was just this, it would go from 0 to 7. Does that make sense? Just like if it was 100, it would go from 0 to 99. It never actually reaches 100. Okay? All right, let's go back in here. Okay, so did this make sense to everybody? Any more questions? All right. Next one. So you're going to write a program that scans in all the integers from a file named getReady. And that file is of the format, the first line contains an integer n, and it will be followed by n integers. And then you're going to print out the amount of numbers that are divisible by n. Okay, so this is a little confusing, but it says that the file format is the first line contains an integer n. So say the first line contains 4. Okay? And it will be followed by n integers. So that means that we're going to have 4 numbers down here. So they can be random. 5 and 7, okay? That's what it means by first line contains n and then followed by n integers. Make sense? Huh? Say it again? Okay. So the first line contains an integer n. We're putting that n integer as 4 right now. Okay? And then now it will be followed by n integers. It's going to be followed by 4 more integers. Okay? Yes? That's a good question. I mean, it says first line contains n integers. You can kind of assume that it will be followed by n integers going down. A little bad wording, sorry. So does that part make sense? All right. So now, gotta flip the page. So we have to open the file, right, to check these numbers. How do I do that? I have file, and I have to have pointer FP, so that's my file pointer. And then what? How do I open my file? Set FP equal to fopen. And what goes inside my parameters? Yeah, my getReady file. Ready, and I have to do .txt. And you said in R mode. Why is it R? Yeah, because I'm reading. Okay, I'm not writing anything out. Okay, so I have this. Now, what variables do you think I'm going to need to declare? Okay, I'm going to need some I. Huh? Do we really need an I, he asks. So we want to print out the amount of numbers that are divisible by n. So we need to go and read through each line of the file to see if they're divisible by n. And the best way to do that is with a for loop. Oh, while file not in file? You could do that too. Let's do it this way and then we'll try to do it that way, okay? All right, so if we have an I, what other numbers would we need? Or variables? We need some n. And then I'm just going to say this is sum. Okay, because we want the sum of how many numbers are divisible by n. So what do we need to do with this sum? We've got to set it equal to 0. And I'm going to have some temp variable. Okay? So what's the first thing I need to do after this? Why do we need temp? You'll see in a second. So the first thing, I need to see what my n variable is, this first number. How do I scan into the file? fscan, F scan F. What are my parameters for F scan? FP. Then what? Get ready, that's telling me the file. I don't need that. This FP is already pointing to my file. N. Okay, so think about it. So if we have like a normal file and we just put N here. Okay, percent something, good. All right, what would it be percent of? Percent D, because we're looking at integers here. So just percent D, and then we have what? Ampersand N. Why is it ampersand? Because it's an integer. All right, so now we have the value of said N, okay? And now I need my for loop, and this is where the temp variable comes in hand. I have this N, so I want to keep that number the same, and then I have this temp to go through each line, okay? Huh? I is going to go through each line, but temp is going to hold the value, it's going to find the value of that spot at that line. I is going to go to this line, I equals 0, whatever.
So we're not changing the value of n?
Yeah, and I don't want to change the value of n, which we have as 4, okay? So if I have my for loop, and I equals 0, what's I going to be less than? If it's less than n. Okay? So if I didn't have a temp variable, then we would be changing the value of n, and we would never get the right for loop. Okay? And then we have I plus plus, which is normal. Okay. Now what? Huh? F scan F. And what are we scanning in this time? We have FP. Placeholder thingy, percent %D, ampersand temp, good. What? Temp equal to n. Oh, he says we don't have temp equal to n. We don't need to. Because it's going to go to the first spot anyway. Because of the for loop, yeah. We already read this line, that was the first one, and now it's going to go to the next line anyway. If we set it equal to n, it would read 4 first and then go back over. Okay, so we have ampersand temp. And then what? I want to check if this temp variable can be divisible by n. I need to have a condition, right? How do I write that? If. If, and then what? Temp mod n. So we used mod twice today. This is the remainder. And if that is what? Equal to 0. Good. What would we do then? Sum. And what are we going to do to sum? Plus plus. So this is going to go through this file that we have, this fake file, and it's going to check, okay, is 1 divisible by 4? No. 2 divisible by 4? No. 5 divisible by 4? No. And so on. Okay? Then what? Sure, I can print it out. Let me close my for loop. Printf percent what? D. And then what is my variable? Sum, yeah. So I'm printing out the sum. Okay. What is something else that I need to do? I got to close my file. If you love something, let it free. This right here? Okay, so this if statement right here, we have temp mod n. So temp is going to go through each line right here, and it's going to check if 1 is divisible by 4. Okay, so if it's divisible by 4, that means it'll give a remainder of 0, right? Okay, and if that is true, then we're going to increment sum.
So the reason why it only scans the 4 numbers after n because n is already scanned?
Correct. So it's going to, right here we have f scan f, So it's going to scan in this first line, and then this temp variable, since this first line was already scanned in, it's going to start right here. Okay? Questions? Yes.
What did you set the second for the first for loop? What did you set it I equal less than 10?
Oh, there's only one for loop, but right here we have I is less than n. Why do we have that? Yeah, it tells us right here, the first line contains integer n and will be followed by n integers. So n is the amount of integers that we have in that file. Okay? And that's another reason why we couldn't change it. fscanf. So the second one is going every line after this 4, and then it's going to check that number if it's divisible by 4. Okay? So this fscanf is going from each line after n. Okay? So let me pull it up. Okay, so I didn't change anything again. I just added like a printf here so you could see how many numbers there were. And I made like a random get ready file. So I have number n, which is 4, and so it's followed by 4 numbers. And then let's run it. So there are only 4 numbers, and only 2 numbers are divisible by 4. So let's see if that's true. Is 5 divisible by 4? Nope. 4? Yeah, so we have 4 and then we have 8. So this statement is true. So let's change these numbers. 8, 7, 3, 1, 2. Okay. So I have 6 numbers. I have n equals 6, since though it's followed by 6 numbers. And then let's run this again. There are 6 numbers, and 0 numbers are divisible by 6. They're all small numbers, so none of them are going to be divisible by 6. Make sense? Questions? Oh, while file not in file? You can, and that what I was going to do, like, we can write what we would do. Okay, so this is this part. So if I had a file, I have to include file not in file. How would I do that? So if I have a while, and then what would be in here? So not equal, FEOF. Okay, so why do you have not equal? Yeah, but we're not setting it equal to anything right now, so we're just going to put this. So it's not FEOF, and this automatically says while it's not in the file. Okay? So what would be in here then? Yep, I'm just going to copy and paste. Okay? Is that all I need in there? How am I going to check the next spot? This isn't like checking the next one. Huh? We don't need a flag, but we need a way to go from each line in the file. No. Oh, we don't need that. Let's see. Oh, it worked. Okay. Okay. So this went through, and it went through the whole file actually, and then it went and it added up that there was sum was 0. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. Next one. Good on this? Oh, n times, yeah. But you could have done FEOF either way.
I've never seen like the for loop used to go through like all the
To go through the file. Yeah, this actually did the same job because FEOF does while it's not in the file, right? So it's going to go until it's the end. And then this is going to do the same thing because there's only 4 numbers. Okay. So write a function that safely opens a file. It will also take in a file name and the mode, and it also returns a file pointer. So Lineker said that this is most likely on there. It will probably be part of the long version of the code. So what do? I have to make a file, so file. And then what's special about this? I have to have a pointer here. Okay, and I'm going to call it open file. Okay, so it says it takes in a file name and a mode. So these are my 2 parameters. So char, file name, just like that. I need my brackets. Okay, if I didn't have my brackets, it would have been considered a pointer, which arrays are, but it would have been different. Char mode. Okay, and how do I open my file? We just did it. File FP. Then what? FP is equal to F open. And since I don't have like an actual file name, what would go in here? Yeah, the variable file name. Comma mode. Then what? I need to safe trap it. So if it's empty, huh? Yeah, we need an if statement. And what's my condition? Yeah, if FP equal null. So what does that actually mean? Yeah, if the file's empty. If the file is empty or it doesn't even exist. Okay? So if it is empty, we want to tell the user it didn't open this file in this said mode. So what would I write? Printf. Then what? Yeah, I'm going to put %s file couldn't open and %s mode. Okay, and what would be my variables on the side? Yeah, it would be file name and mode. All right, so that's the nicest way to do it. He said that this would probably be on your exam, so I would know that. What did I forget? I need to exit. Okay, so this would exit out of the this function right here, and it'll go back to main, and it'll print out this. I have to return. What am I returning? Yeah, I got to return a file pointer. Good. Easy? Yeah. Return FP as a pointer. It already is a pointer, right? Yeah. So we don't have to put another asterisk there because it already is a pointer. I think you're remembering it weird. We're going to go over the structure thing like that. Okay. This stuff is easy, so if we have time, we'll go back and do it. But right now, let's get into the good stuff. I'm also going to skip number 6. Because this one is just allocating memory for an integer size and pulping it with random numbers. We kind of did that in this first problem. So if we have time, we can go back over it. Yes?
Are you going to be posting answers
Yeah, I'll post answers to everything, even those last few problems that we didn't do, if we don't have time. Okay? So this is probably going to be the long portion of your exam. We have this program will use information from a file called contact.txt and add the information to a linked list. This file contains name, age, and number. And this is the sample. We got Rick, 99, and his phone number. Don't try to call it, probably won't go. And then you're going to create a struct named contact info that contains name, age, and number, and a structure pointer. And you're also going to globally declare another structure pointer. Okay? So it's probably going to have like these step-by-step things that's going to tell you what you need to do for each function and stuff like this, hopefully. Okay? So I need to create a struct. What do? I write struct. That's an awesome start. Okay, and it tells you the name that it wants, so contact info. And I have my curly brackets. What's special about a struct? I need a semicolon right here, okay? And now it tells me my variables, so how do I write it? Char name, and I'm going to give it just a size, so hopefully nobody's name is over 100. And then I need age and number. What variable should I do? Int. They could be char as well. Let's make them int though. Because you might need to do like, for our last, in class we did like a read float function. You might have to do that. So I did an integer so we could do one of those functions. Okay? And it also says, and a structure pointer in my struct, so how do I do that? Yeah, I gotta rewrite struct, the name of it, contact info, and yeah, I'm gonna make it next. Okay? Also, don't forget that, a globally structure pointer. How do I do that? Yeah, just right outside of this structure, I'm gonna write it. Struct, contact info, and it actually tells me what I want to call it. All right, that's simple enough. 5 points that you guys can all get? Hopefully, okay? Huh?
Why'd you name it?
Oh, so I have 2 structure pointers right now. I have, yeah, this one is global. Question? So, next part, you will be given a readline function right here, but you need to create a function called readInt, which is what we were talking about, and it needs to read in the lines of the integers. So integers are special. It's not just like a readline function. It won't just come in with the chars. You need to have it special. So what do? Huh? Need to make a void. I want to return though. Yeah. It's int, and it's called readInt. And not what? Readline is void because, like in our readIn records function, we're gonna call readline, and we're actually gonna call it in this function as well, and it's just gonna hold that value. It's just gonna read that line. It's not returning the value of the line itself, okay? But for int readInt, I want to return that value of that int, okay? What do you think would be my parameter? Huh? It won't be the same. You can check your notes if you have them. Anybody? We're gonna do a file pointer. Okay? So he may give you this function format, like this prototype already. I'm not sure, so I had us do it all together. And he'll probably give you this as well, the return ATOF, because we didn't do too much on that. Okay? Oh, okay, so it would probably be of an integer. I don't know what that is, though. Okay, yeah, ATOF worked in mine, too. So, Oh, okay. I think it does all numbers. Don't quote me on that, but you'll probably be given this function prototype like this, so you won't need to worry about the parameters, and you'll also be given this return. Huh? ATOI? Okay.
Like he'll give you those lines.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it's ATOI, says Gavin. Right, yeah. For integers, okay? Okay. But ATOF works fine. And then, so I need to fill in, there's 2 lines that I need to have here. What? fscan. I don't need fscan because I'm going to call this function, but he says to char. So I need to have a temp variable. Okay. I don't need a fgets. I'm just going to call this readline function, actually. So how would I call this readline that I'm given? How do I call a function? I just write readline. And what are my parameters? I have line. So what do you think that would be? Temp. That's the reason why I need that temp variable. And I have an integer for the length. What do you think that would be? It's 100, yep. And then I have my file pointer, which would be FP. Okay? So, yeah, you'll probably only have to fill in those 2 lines, but it doesn't hurt to know all this. Questions? Okay. So now this is the long part that we were probably, huh? Oh, I wrote it here. I said you'll probably be given this. That's in read in records. That's in a different function. And then this should be temp. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Because that's your variable. Okay. Now you're going to create a function called read in records that takes in a file pointer. This function will also allocate memory for the first spot in the list and walk the list in order to read each line. Okay? And then you're going to add the information into the struct. Okay, I just said a lot of things, but you're going to allocate memory for the first spot, walk the list, and add info to the struct. Okay? So what do you think would be my parameter? What? Struct contact info pointer. I actually don't need this in my parameter because I have my global root variable, remember? So I need my file pointer. I gave you guys kind of a clue with my parentheses. They weren't that big, so. All right. And now I need to allocate memory for the first spot in the list. So now I need to declare a new structure pointer. So we have struct contact info walker. This was going to walk the list. And then I have to allocate memory for the first spot. How do I do that? I have my global variable called root, remember? Calc. So, but how do I start it? Thank you. Root equals calc. What are my parameters? Yeah, 1 comma size of struct contact info. Okay. So I declared my variable, my memory for the first spot, and no, root is globally declared with our struct, if you remember. We did that up here. Root is globally declared. So what does that mean? Yeah, same plot where it's just multiple parts. Since it's a global structure pointer, we can call it in any of our functions. Okay? And now I don't want to change the value of root, so what do? Yeah. Walker equal root. Okay? So this is going to put the value of root into Walker, so that way we never lose the value of root. Okay? Next part, I need to walk the list. So we have our basic walk the list function. This one's just going to be a little bit more beefed up. So what's the first thing I should have though? While. While what? While Walker's not null? No. No, we're going to read each line of the file. Yeah, so while not in file. Okay, so make sure you read what the question asks. We're going to read each line of the file, which I should have added. Okay, so speaking of which, we need to read each line. So now we have two functions. So for read line, and then we have our read int. So what would be in here? I need read line. And what are my parameters? If you think back, this is my function. I have a char, an integer length, and a file pointer. Walker arrow name, he says. So this is going to put the information that we find, and we're going to put it into name. And then another parameter, we have length, and then the file pointer. So comma what? 100, sure. And then the file pointer, fp. Okay, so we read the first line of the char, and now we need to read the integer. So I want to set that integer line equal to age, and I want to set that integer line equal to number. How would I do that? Walker arrow age. Okay. Equal to what? Yeah, read int. Huh? So if you think about it, this actually makes sense because in our read int function, we returned like this, the ATOI of the temp. And so this here right now is catching what that function had, this Walker age. But I want to do it again for the number. What do I do? Walker arrow, what's my other variable? Number. And I'm going to set that equal to read int. And it only has one parameter for the file pointer. So we have that. That is all good. Okay, so we also want another condition that's going to, like, since we're walking the file, or walking the list, we need to go up until, like, the file is empty, and then we're going to allocate memory for it. Let me start. That was a little confusing. Yeah, if. So we're going to do while file not in file. Okay. And then we're going to allocate memory for the next spot in the file. So right now, this function is grabbing the information that we have in the file, and it's putting it into a linked list that we're making right now. Yes. We also have another function for add to list, but right now we're grabbing that information from each spot of the structure, and then we're putting it into like Walker age and Walker number stuff. Okay? So this is why I need to do this. Walker next is equal to calc, and then the normal parameters for that. Okay. So what this is doing, it's getting the information, like I said, from each part of the file, the name, age, and number, and then it's going to do it for the next spot. It's going to go to next, and then it's going to allocate memory for it, and then it's going to loop back and do this again to this read line. Okay? So how would I go? Right now I'm at Walker next, but how do I go to the next one? Good. Make Walker equal Walker next. So now it's going to go to the next spot of the file and do this whole read line process, allocate memory and stuff like that. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. Picture time. Not for me. All right. Now create a function that will display the information from the struct. This should be the easiest part. How do I display stuff? Yeah, scanf, what? I hope that was a joke. Okay, good. All right, so I need void. I'm not returning anything. Show info. What do you think would be in my parameters? Struct contact info. I got 2 people. Struct contact info. Ooh, good question. Are we going to walk the list to display, or are we showing the info? Trick question. This is just going to show the info, and then we're going to create another function that's going to walk the list to display it, okay? All right, but this first part we need to have, yeah. Root. Okay, so he asked, why do we need to have like a structure pointer here? Bless you. While we still have root. So root is at the first spot of the list, right? Okay, but we want this to be like any random part of the list. Okay, so that's why we need to have this new pointer here. So printf, and what's in here? Yeah, stuff like this. Name is percent what? S, good. Age is percent what? I hope you guys know this. Okay, and then last num percent D. Okay, and then now what do I write after this? What are my variable names? Yeah, I need to include my structure pointer. PTR arrow name, PTR arrow age, and PTR arrow num. Why isn't there an ampersand for age and num? Because I'm just printing f. There's no scanf. I don't need an ampersand. Does that make sense, guys? Cool. All right, now as Josh said, we have this create a walk the list function that displays the information. Now I'm going to walk the list, and then I'm going to call this show info spot so it can go through each of the lists and show this information. How do I do that? Void walk list. Yeah, I need to have a structure pointer again. Okay. How do I walk a list? While. Okay, now this was confusing for the first part. So right now we're not dealing with files anymore. Now we have all our structures in a linked list. Awesome, you guys were all saying it. While PTR is not equal to null. What? Oh, not null, sorry. I'll just rewrite it. Well, PTR, yeah, but it has to be not equal to null. That was my fault. Good? Show info, awesome. Oh, because it has to say like not equal, like PTR not equal instead of just not null. It's just a formality. info. Do I have a parameter for show info? Awesome, PTR. Then what? I want to move to the next spot in the line. You guys are so good. PTR equals PTR next. So this is going to move from this spot in the line to the next spot in the line, and so on and so forth. So I have this. Is there anything I'm missing? It's a trick question because there is. It's a void, so I don't need to return anything. But how I want to start at the first spot of the list. How do I ensure that? Right now, I'm starting at PTR is equal to root, and that's going to be at the top. Okay, so now root is going into PTR. So now we are ensured that we're starting at the first part of the list instead of like at a random spot. Make sense? Cool. Almost done. Okay, we have this create and add to list function that returns a structure pointer. This function will walk the list and allocate memory to the next space in the linked list. That is empty. Okay? So we have returns a structure pointer. So how would I start? Struct. I'm going to name it, or it already told me what to name it, add to list. What's special about this though? I need to have a pointer here because it tells me that I'm going to return a structure pointer, so I know that I need to have this a pointer right here. Okay? And what's my parameter? What? Struct contact info. You guys had like a 50-50 chance. And then structure pointer. Okay? So this, it tells me that I'm going to walk the list and allocate memory for the next spot in line. Okay? So we just did a walk the list function, so it should be still fresh in your memory. I want to check if the next spot of the list is empty. Okay, hold up. Okay, so let's write this. While PTR next is not equal to null. So right now, I'm here at this little box, right? And then it wants to check if the next spot is empty. So let's say I have 3 boxes. So now I'm at this spot right here, but I'm checking for the next one. It's clear, so I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to check for the next one. It's good, so I'm not going to do anything. But right here, I don't have a next box, so I want to allocate memory for that empty spot. So good, PTR equals PTR next. Okay, so while it's not empty, I want to keep going to the next spot. And then when it is, so I'm going to break out of the loop, I want to allocate memory for that next spot. What would I do? PTR equals calloc. And then my normal parameters, 1, comma, size of struct contact info. Yeah, but this PTR, it's going to go PTR is equal to PTR next, and then it's going to go to this next spot, and then it's going to check this. So if PTR next, oh, I see what you mean, yep. PTR next is equal to calloc, okay? Because this is going to go PTR is equal to PTR next, so it's going to look at this next spot, and then if that spot is null, then we're going to break out. So that's the part that we want to allocate memory for. Okay, and I still need to return my structure pointer. What am I going to return? Return pointer next. Why am I returning pointer next and not just pointer? What? Yeah, we want to return the one that we just allocated memory for. Okay, does that make sense? Ampersand? Oh, a semicolon. Okay, thank you. What did you say? I'm sorry. So if you put another star here, you're putting like a double pointer, and we haven't really gotten into that. So you want to keep it, if you're returning a pointer, you want to return a single thing. Okay? Last main part that you should know. We have create a search function that searches for the list and for the name of that user that the user inputs, and if the name is found, show a full contact information. If the name is not found, tell the user not found. Okay? So I'm not returning anything, so how should I start my function? Void. And I'm just going to call it do search. Okay? So my parameters, it's going to list for a name, so I need to have some kind of name in here. So I'm going to put char search. Okay, what else should be in there? A structure pointer. You can never go wrong with that. Struct contact info pointer PTR. Okay, so I want to walk the list and check, and I want to compare what the user inputs to the name that I have in my struct. So what should I do? I got to walk the list, so how do I start it off? While PTR is not equal to null, so while it is not empty. How do I check my condition if the user inputted the search versus the struct? String compare? Good. What? Yeah, I want it to be insensitive to case, so I'm going to have my if statement. Stir I CMP. So for you Mac users, if you're used to writing case instead of I, you will not get points off for that. Okay, so I want to compare what the user inputs and then the structure. How do I do that? Yeah, search. This is what the user inputs, and I'm going to compare it to PTR name. Okay, so is that it? Good, equal 0. So if that is true, I want to show the information. And then, so how would I do that? Yeah, I have a magical function called show info. And what's my parameter? PTR. What? Yeah, so this stir CMP is going to hold a 0 value, and if 0 equals to 0, then we're going to show the info. Okay? So if we find the person, I want to exit out of this program so it doesn't keep running. So yeah, I'm going to put a return. Okay? It's just return. Okay? And then I have to walk the list, so I have to go to the next pointer. No, it's the same thing. Good. Pointer equals pointer next. Okay, so this is literally a walk the list function. And then I want to tell the user that it's not found if it wasn't. So I'm going to do a printf. This is a curly brace, sorry, it's kind of ugly. Printf not found. Okay? Simple enough? Questions? Yes? Good question. So he asked this not found. Is it always going to print out since it's outside of the while? But since we have this return here, if we find it, it's going to exit out of this function here before it does the not found. Questions? We can start it. How's that? Is everybody good on this? Okay. I actually have one more question that I feel that might be on the exam that I would like to go over. And so like the main part, it would be like look on your notes from class that we did the data.txt. The main portion would look the same, okay? But this part, he went over it yesterday at his review, so I would like to go over it as well. It says, write a function that takes in an integer representing a phone number and an integer pointer representing a new number. This function will add a random number in between 2 and 9 to the number creating a new number. It's not in the packet, but I uploaded it. It's on my website now, but yeah. Okay? So right now it says it takes in an integer. So takes in, so my two parameters, I'm going to have an integer representing a phone number, and then another integer pointer representing a new number. So int old num, comma int pointer new num. Okay? Questions? Okay. So now I want to, this function will add a random number in between 2 and 9 to the number creating like a new fancy number, okay? So I need to have like some kind of temp variable to add a number to. So I got int add to num, okay? And now I want this add to num number to hold a random value. Does this make sense? So I have add to num, and I'm going to set it equal to a random number between 2 and 9. How would I do that? Rand, parentheses, mod. Yeah, good. 7 plus 2. So at the beginning, like without this plus 2, it's just 0 to 6. And then I'm going to add 2 to it. So then it would be from 2 to, oh, actually it would be 2 to 8. Okay? But like, it's from, okay. It's from 2 to 9, but it's only going to print out numbers 2 to 8, okay? Okay. 8 plus 2? If we do 8 plus 2, then it would be from 0 to 7, and then we add 2, then it would be 2 to 9. Is that what we want? Yeah. Okay, so it needs to be from 8 to 2. Okay, if it was just mod 8 by itself, it would be from 0 to 7, right? Yeah. So now we have this add 2, so we're moving the range. Instead of starting at 0, we're going to start at 2. And then we're also going to add 2 to 7 and then end at 9. Good question. He said, why don't we have to seed it? We would actually have to seed it in main. Okay? All right, does that make sense though, this random part? This plus 2, it's moving the range by 2. So instead of starting at 0 to 7, it's going to go from 2 to 9. You're just adding 2. Okay? All right, now I want this, this new number, I want it to be, I want you to add this random number, yeah? What? In order to be from 5 to 10? You want to see another one? Okay, so if I want to go from 5 to 10, it would have to be rand, like this, mod. What number do you think it would have to be? 5 plus, I'm going to leave this blank so we can look at it. So right now it's just 0 to 5, right? Okay, so if I add 5, then it's going to go plus 5, and it's going to go from 5 to 10. Oh, sorry. Ah. Okay, let's redo this. We have ran this, blah, 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 mod 5. Okay, so it doesn't actually hit 5. You guys are right. It goes from 0 to 4, right? Which is 5 numbers, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's why it's like that. All right, and then now we want to go from 5 to 10, so what would we add? 6. So, yeah. Okay, so it would be mod 6, so it would be 0 to 6. Oh my gosh. 0 to 5, okay? That makes sense. All right, now I want to go to 10. Yeah. That's what I thought too. So if we're going to add 5 to here, and it's going to be 5 to 10. That's it. If you had 6, then it would go from 0 to 5, and then you could just add 5, and it would have done the same thing. Okay? Yeah, like normally we've done this 100 times, remember? Just to 100. This is going from 0 to 99. Right? We've done that before? Cool. Yeah, so if we add 1, it would change from 1 to 100.
Is it possible to make 0 to 100?
It would just be mod 101. Okay? If you wanted to go from 0 to 100. Okay, guys, let's go back, okay? So I want to create my new number by adding this random number to it. So I have this int new num, which is a pointer, and I want to add this random number to the old number. What would I do? No, I'm just adding this old number plus the random number, and I want to have it equal to the new num. Yeah, so new num is equal to old num, yeah, plus add to num. This is nothing crazy. Yeah, new num is a pointer. Yeah, because I want to have the value of old num plus add to num into new num. Yeah. Okay? Now we have this part. Write a function that takes in an integer array, so parameter 1, the int length, parameter 2, and the starting phone number, which is parameter 3. So let's write out the parameters. I got int data. I want an integer for the length. And then I also want an integer for the starting number. So start num. Okay? Did I lose anybody? I just put in the parameters. Okay? So now this function will generate n amount of numbers. What do you guys think n is? It's the length. So it's going to create the length amount of numbers. This is the length or the size of the array by calling the getPhoneNumber function in n times. Okay? So you're calling it the amount for the size of the array. Okay? What do you think my variable that I need to declare is? Yeah, I need my I. Okay, so we know we have a for loop then. I equals 0. I less than what? Len, which is our length. Okay, and then I plus plus. Okay? Now you're going to generate n amount of numbers, so that's the length, by calling getPhoneNum function n times. So how do I call my function? Yeah, get phone num. Okay, parameters, I need to have an old number, and then I need to have a pointer. Yeah, I need to start num because that's my old number. So start num. And how would I put in like a pointer? Data, okay, but data, we're looking, that's the whole array is considered a pointer. But we're just looking at data sub I. So we need an ampersand. Ampersand data or data sub I. Okay, does that make sense? So if we were looking at data just by itself, that would be the reason like we wouldn't need an ampersand. But since it's data sub I, this is like, it's a specific number. So we need an ampersand. Okay? Does that make sense? Cool. A pointer equal to start num. We wouldn't want a pointer equal to start num because start num is by itself. This is the old number, right? From this parameter. Okay. Okay. So that's all we can do today, but I'm going to have the answers for the main part. This paper is already on my website. Do you guys know how to get there? You should, because you guys all got the review. Okay, so this is on there. I'm going to have the answers for everything. And then this eval sheet, you guys should all have a copy of it on your tables. If you guys don't mind filling it out, this section up here would be 6, 7, okay? But you don't have to fill that out. Okay, thank you guys.